Fireside Chat with Bridge. This evening, we are going to be talking about how Bridge came to Dr. Joe's work and how she lost a considerable amount of weight. I'm sure you've all seen the picture in the group. I posted both of your images like, side to side. Um, so how did you, let's go back to the beginning. Have you had a spiritual journey before you came to Dr. Joe, or any journey that leads you to where you are now?
As a young child, I was the only one in the family that wanted to go to church. I was just trying to figure God out quite early on. And I would walk myself down the neighborhood street to the local Lutheran church because I didn't know what else to do. But I discovered in my preteens and early teens that being in nature, that there was something sacred for me in that space. And I began to realize that I had intuitive, clairvoyant abilities, of which I did very little about for many, many years. They pretty much lie dormant for quite some time. But I've been to, oh gosh, lots of workshops and shaman healings and circles and classes. And I've read hundreds of books. And lo and behold, come COVID, and I discovered Dr. Joe on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And I immediately got Breaking the Habit. And from 2020 until this year in February, I basically ruminated about Dr. Joe's material by reading the book a number of times and watching Rewired multiple times on Gaia. I think I even read Becoming Supernatural. I mean, I just danced around it until I plunked in and sat down and started the work in February of this year.
Okay. And when did you go to your first event? Was that in February as well?
Truth be told, I have not been to an event.
Wow.
I have devoured every piece of material I can get my hands on, joined the website, purchased a lot of stuff. And so I've kind of gone, I've gone that route.
Okay.
Yes.
So you told me about a healing that you had.
Okay. So in February of 2023, I was well over 200 pounds, size 18 jeans, 2X blouses. I had fully mastered self-loathing, and I hated my life. I had been making incremental changes, and I would say they were inspired by Dr. Joe, in terms of I got rid of my TV the year before. So I started to watch what I fed my mind. And I began to question more consciously my choices and the directions I chose to go in my world. But I had high blood pressure. I was on medication. I had diabetes 2. I was in my 5th year of that. And it was not under control because my eating was not under control. And by the way, it still isn't. Everything's changed. I used a CPAP machine to breathe. If I could have worn a CPAP 24/7, I would have. I found breathing in general to be labored and thin, and I never felt like I was getting enough air. I was a mouth breather. So I had just begun in January reading a book called Breathe, about how to go from being a mouth breather to a nose breather. And I was really trying to become a nose breather. I also had done some studying about the microbiome, about how you change your gut, you change your life. And so after years of being up and down yo-yo with keto, I decided, you know what, the food I love the most, the food that just nourishes my soul and feels right in my body, as Ayurvedic, is Indian food. And so I jumped ship, and I just started eating legumes and beans and vegetables. So this preempted my actual sitting my bottom down in a meditation chair in front of a little homemade altar. I put a little altar together, and I began with Dr. Joe's meditations from Breaking the Habit. I started with the ones that he offered, Rising Waters, and I don't recall the name of the other one, but I used those two. And it was somewhere in this short window of a week or two in February that I was experimenting and listening to other of his meditations on YouTube. I hadn't joined his website yet. And I heard him say, fall in love with yourself. And I grabbed it.
Wow.
Like, what does that mean? What does that mean? I hate myself. At the same time, I had just had an astrology reading, and the woman had sent me the recording where I got to hear my voice, my laughter, my word choices, my comments, the way I thought. And I hated that woman. I was so mean to her. Though there wasn't a thing about her I liked. And I realized I have a problem, or I have a challenge. And if I'm going to do this work, and I'm kind of an all or nothing kind of gal, then I am going to embark on a journey to discover what self-love really, really means. And the only place I could start was, well, who do I love? Well, I love my children. All right, so you know that kind of love. So let's practice loving yourself the way you love your children, because that's all I knew. I had been in very dysfunctional relationships. I'd been single for decades by choice. And so that's where I took a hold of what I knew, sort of. But week 2 into meditating with Dr. Joe, I had one of those fall off my chair, and my body electric just came alive from my toes well beyond the head on my hair. And I came out of that hour-long meditation, and I think I crawled over to my mirror, my floor mirror, and I stood there and I stared at myself, and I stared in my eyes, and I just said hi to myself, like for the first time ever. And I realized that something incredible had taken place, and that my life was never going to be the same.
Wow.
Yeah. Just continuing on, so there were some specific things I did. I chose to commit to this. I really think that with weight loss, you really have to make a very real commitment to yourself, whether you write it down and put it on your mirror just to or your refrigerator or above your kitchen sink, that this is what I'm doing now, because my eating patterns were unconscious. My eating patterns were all completely emotional based. And I was just riddled with addictions, salt, crunch, give me salt, crunch, give me sweet. You know, I just was riddled with that. Well, after that event with the meditation, I was aware of wanting to fall back into familiarity, but it was easier for me to love myself like I do my children, because that's all I knew at the time, and say, you know what? You don't need that. Let's go make a tea. How are you feeling right now? Maybe we need to journal. You want to go to call your best friend. Let's do something else. Well, within a month, I had announced to my little tiny world, because I really didn't have friendships to speak of. I had one friend who has taken me back numerous times, and she took me back again. And I announced, I am on a self-love journey, and this includes total and complete health. Well, I went and got labs in March. I had no diabetes. I stopped using my CPAP machine. I could breathe through my nose 24/7. My blood pressure was normal, and the weight was falling off of me. So I did a few things because I have an NLP background too. I got smaller plates and smaller bowls. And I started to measure, what does a quarter cup look like? What does a half a cup look like? Like, I had no idea. I was just filling my plate and then eating it all, And so I measured for a very short amount of time just to learn, oh, well, that's a lot of food, a quarter cup of rice and a half a cup of vegetables and tempeh or whatever. So I did that. So my kitchen stuff shrunk. I got rid of all the big giant plates and the big giant bowls and the big giant spoons. And I began to make meals sacred because I began to feel like this self-love path was a sacred path. Because I made myself look myself in the mirror every day and see the me I was becoming. And people would say to me, well, what are you doing? And I'd say, I am becoming. And I would just leave it at that. I am becoming. And you know how Dr. Joe says, to correct a thought, you use the word change. So just like you train a dog, if you've ever trained any, or you raise a kid, I would have a thought, a hateful thought, like, this isn't happening fast enough. Change. I looked in the mirror and I feel like crying. Change. And I just corrected my thinking 24/7. I really, really was committed to keeping my thoughts clean and in line. So I found that during the initial shift in how I proceeded with food and how I proceeded in my kitchen and how I proceeded when I looked in the mirror and saw who I was becoming, that I needed to keep my life as simple as possible during that time. I felt vulnerable. Like, certain people would bring the wrong foods into my home, or I would go eat with them at the wrong kind of place. Or, people who love us, they see us a certain way. And when we start to change,
they don't like it.
They have to change, right?
Yeah.
So I just kind of did a little bit of isolation, and then I made a discovery. So, okay, so I made a commitment. I chose my meditation. I decided to stick to a meditation so that I could build a routine and begin to strengthen that ability to live in gratitude and be in constant receivership. And so I put my hands on my chest, and I still do all the time, because that's where I am. As far as I'm concerned, that's where I live. That's where I inhabit. That's the truth of me. And I was starting to cry a lot during the meditation when he'd say, put your hand on your heart, get in your heart space. And then the tears would flow. And they were tears of gratitude for what was becoming, but they were also just emotional release, a part of my healing. And so I cried more for the next 2 months than I had in forever. I gave myself permission to just cry. And I did a lot of that. And it felt great. I also discovered, well, what are the things how can I love myself other than just saying it and looking in a mirror in my eyes and acknowledging myself like I do other people? Like, acknowledge myself and start to feel compassion for myself. Well, I started to find words that I felt at home with, like luminous female. I loved that. Luminous yin, radiant health. So I just hooked in to certain words that I used all the time when I looked at myself in the mirror or when I thought about who I was becoming. But I'm telling you, in 3 months, I went from a size 18 to a size 4. My microbiome completely changed. I asked my nurse practitioner, how come I can't eat a Nacho Dorito chip anymore without spitting it out? And she goes, well, your taste buds have changed. Well, how come my taste buds have changed? Because your microbiome has changed. So your microbiome is telling you what it wants. And it was telling you what it wanted before. But now it stands corrected and it's saying, oh, well, I really want that spinach and I really want those legumes. And it was just a whole new experience with food. I'm still the one that loves and appreciates food, but I see it now as a way of nurturing myself to stay alive versus nurturing a hurting heart or an ignored woman, or, you know, and with unmet needs. Like, I meet my needs. I find a way to have my needs met. So I had body work. I let a massage therapist touch my body. You know, that was part of it. I started making myself beautiful playlists. I discovered Lee Harris in the process. Lee Harris has what are called music mantras.
Wow. Okay.
Love, healing, joy, play, magic, and they're delightful. Well, I hooked into those, and then I went, what about devotional music? So I went on YouTube and I found the type of devotional music that I love. I started making playlists that are basically musical affirmations. So I realized, okay, I'm going to do this every day. I'm going to do my affirmations every day with music. This was in month 2. So that was as important to me as sitting for an hour, hour and a half with Dr. Joe. I would do 30 minutes minimum of listening to the music. And I soon discovered, you know, I started to move my body. Like, what am I doing? I'm moving my body. Oh, because I have a body. Oh, because I'd spent decades in my head. I was just a giant head.
Wow.
With a body that I despised. So now I said, well, why don't I stand up and just sway and sing along with the affirmation? So I did that. Well, pretty soon it started to turn into like a little bit of movement and then a little bit of stretching and hello, body. And so it was a whole discovery through music mantras to just move back into my whole physical person. And so I would tell people I'm treating myself like I would a very dear friend that's hurting, you know. So I really looked at myself in that way too. Just, I need to take care of who I am because no one else is going to do it. I've got to do it. Let's see. So then I discovered walking, gentle walking. I mean, so I didn't do any crazy exercising. And then, of course, on the practical side, I did remove all what I thought were going to be temptation. I just removed that from the house. But what I found was, since the microbiome did change, that food didn't look tempting to me at all. So it became a moot point. And then just saying prayer and being grateful for my meal and just eating instead of being on my phone or talking to a friend, or just focus on the moment and being in the moment with the food. Falling in love with myself involved, you know, I love lavender salt baths. So I did that. I started buying myself fresh flowers every week because I was falling in love with myself. And so it shifted from the way I knew how to love my children to, hey, I'm a beautiful woman. I'm a radiantly healthy, vibrant, luminous female. So what does that mean? Well, I need some makeup and I need some new clothes because I'm shrinking. And I mean, it was just a whole awakening into a new body mind, really. And my children said to me in March or April, I wrote, yes, in April, they said, okay, we want to know what you did with our mother.
Wow.
They were like, you know, I was peaceful, I was grounded, I was centered, I didn't talk as much. I was very present with them, but that's the beauty of meditating. You can really come to your center and be that during the day. That in my hand on my heart, because I had, ADHD. So got off the medication, but there were times when the anxiety and the busy, really busy active mind would show up. And I would, again, just stop whatever I was doing because I was taking care of myself the way I would a friend, a dear friend, and check in, hands on heart, breathe through my nose, you know, to meditate. There was a window of time where I actually meditated twice a day. And that was lovely as well, that I felt very privileged that I had a lifestyle where I could do that. I know a lot of people cannot. And then stuff came up, unexpected stuff tied into my emotionality. that needed to be healed, like, oh, this doesn't fit with the new me. This has no place here, but it's still here. So I would just take that into meditation. I didn't go run to a healer. I just would go into meditation and go to the field. And for me, the field started as a pretending, but that doesn't last. I mean, especially for me, honing in on just a few meditations and not dispersing myself in all directions, because he's got a lot of them and they're all amazing. Honing in on the ones that really, really resonated with me. And then learning through rote experience, doing it, repeating the behavior over and over. I learned, oh, wow, I'm in the field. So there were many times when I fell off my meditation chair, and wonderful Kundalini, just energy events took place in my person. I'm the size I was in junior high now.
Wow.
I'm just a tall, skinny girl, and I don't think I look my age. I'm almost 63, and I don't feel my age. I feel incredible. And let's see, falling in love with myself. I had to cut myself some slack. And that came up, how critical, just that wanting to go there and going, change. And going, you know what? You need to just cut yourself some slack. Yeah, you blew it, or yeah, you could have done a better thing there. But just, again, treating myself, I was a far better friend to other people than I was to myself. So I really gave all that to myself. And now it's just a part of who I am.
I love that. It sounds to me like whilst you did the meditations, you spent the rest of the 23 hours of your day focusing on you and what does it mean to be meditative all day long, when you're looking at your food, when you're looking at yourself, when you're looking at your clothes, when you're looking at your movement. And that is an activity that is freeing, as opposed to you doing the exact same thing, but in a negative spiral. Like, I don't like what I look like. I don't like what I sound like. And that's exhausting. And that's going to create illness and disease in the body, right? So from the start of your meditating journey to the finish, it feels to me like it was only a few months in which you lost all of that weight.
Yes, the weight dropped, I'm going to say 3 months. 3 months was the weight was gone. But it's interesting, the mind, I'd look at my body in the mirror and go, God, I'm still fat. And then I put on my size 4 jeans and go, you can't be fat and be wearing size 4. So a part of my mind, it happened so fast, the egoic self just, it took a while for it to go, oh, well, if you wear a size 4, then you aren't really that big. You can't be. Just do the math. But I continue still to look in the mirror and just say hi to myself. I mean, who does that? Who teaches that? We need to learn this as kids, that we check in with each other. Well, when do we check in with ourselves? With or without meditation, just the being in a mirror and saying, hi, how are you? What can I do for you today? What do you need? What do you want?
Yeah.
And go from there. So I have a much more connected sense of self to self.
So I connected with you, or tried to, a number of months ago, and I just in the last month have started to do similar things to what you're doing, softening to myself, not being so harsh and critical, and not, that I have loads of flaws and faults, we all do, but not bouncing on those. I'm gonna bounce on something else, like, I'm actually good at X, Y, and Z as well. So I love the fact that as soon as I started to drop into the loving myself and being kind to myself, you bounced into my inbox to say, yes, I'd love to talk to you. So in terms of synchronicities, have you found that your the more you are kind to yourself, the more you see the world around you in the interaction, and the synchronicities is changing for you as well.
Yes, and that's just the magic of it all. There's synchronistic events daily.
Yeah,
I
I love
expect
it.
them, and they're everywhere. I did what I called speed dating. I had not dated men for 24 years. And I did a speed dating thing, and I wish I had filmed the entire thing. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. Oh my God. Anyway, that lasted 2.5 months, and I went, okay, that's it. No more. I'm done, because it wasn't working. And so I announced to the friend who's been putting up with me for 20 years, I said, I'm going to close the door on dating for now. I know and trust that in time, love will come. I know it will. And I'm open, after 24 years of not being, to actually sharing my life again with somebody, but in a very healthy way,
Yeah.
way. So as I'm shutting the door, he literally knocks on my front door.
Wow.
Comes upstairs.
Amazing.
It's the afternoon. I feed him lunch out of my fridge. We hugged that day, and that hug said it all. I knew that I had found my guy, and he knew he'd found who he was looking for. So
That is
there you
beautiful.
go. There you go. 4 months in that relationship, and it's really beautiful.
That is
Yes.
just such a testament to falling in love with yourself, to being kind to yourself, and just,
Yes.
oneness. This is oneness. I am recognizing me, not something outside of me. I'm recognizing me.
Yes. And I find that going to places like the supermarket, it's women, and I don't know what color my hair looks like. My hair is mostly gray. When I go into a store, it's the mature women that approach me. And I don't even think they really know why they're approaching me, but I've got something they want. You know what I mean? And so I'm connecting with women in a way, it's very beautiful. It's really lovely. And it's telling me something about maybe my work to come.
Yeah.
It's just like, pay attention to what's flowing in your life. And right now it's this flow of women just wanting to be in my space and talk with me and connect with me. And then I opened up Facebook in June because in a meditation. That's the other thing. How is it for you guys? When I meditate, sometimes I don't hear a word Dr. Joe says. I might hear a few things,
Yeah.
but then I'm just, in it.
Yeah.
I'm being, and in that being, I receive, and I'll come back and I'll write it down, or I'll think, oh, I should write it down, and I don't, and better when I do. But I was shown that I needed to open up a social media, and because I hadn't had one. And as you probably already know, I'm very low tech. I've got to learn some things.
Yeah.
So I opened up a Facebook, and within 2 months, I had 6,000 plus followers.
Wow.
So that for me is a communication and a sign that I'm looking at. Like, well, where do we go from here? Why are people, and not even why, and also never caring about the how healing is that? How healing is that? To never ever worry about the how. And I very rarely even use the word why anymore. What's the point?
The why, what, when, where, how. Cancelled. Not interested.
Exactly. And I fall in love with everybody, and I love everybody. And sometimes I feel like I'm the love being walking into a space, like that's my vibration, that's my energy. And may everyone that I walk past, pick up a few little twinkle beams from that, and feel a little better themselves, So there's a sense now that I belong. I am to express and share me in some capacity with a larger viewership, with a larger audience, for sure. Yeah. I'm putting together a book series, small books, easy reads, because we're all too busy to read. We're all too busy to read. That's called, I Think I'm Mostly Okay, the field book series. And one will be on weight loss, and one will be on narcissism, because I'm a survivor of narcissism from a parent. And And all the things that people on my Facebook want me to talk about. Like, well, why don't I just do a cute, easy read? I'm no expert. I'm just me.
Yeah.
And this is how I see it. And this is what I did to free myself from it.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, your energy is absolutely beautiful.
Thank
You
you.
are literally sparkling through the web here. So does
Thank you.
anybody have any questions? Because I could go on and on, but I want to open up the floor for anyone who has any questions. You can either raise your hand or type in the chat box.
Oh, okay. How not to focus on the how. I trust, initially, I trust Dr. Joe. I mean, I just decided he's the authority. And if he says, forget the how, then I'm going to forget the how just because he said it. And when he said, fall in love with yourself, I decided, okay, Dr. Joe says I need to fall in love with myself, so I'm going to fall in love with myself. I just took him as the authority, you know, so I just, yeah, trust the man completely. You can also do things like, you know, say change, that magic word change, you know, just say change and stop the thought mid sentence. Just
Sentence, yeah. I do
stop.
pivot. I don't know if you've ever seen Friends
Pivot.
and Ross taking the chair up the stairs and he's going pivot, pivot. So that just stops me completely.
Precisely. I like
Yeah.
that word a lot. Yeah, pivot. I might take that. I like it.
What
Yeah,
do your
you
kids
don't have
say
to
now?
finish those thoughts. You don't have to finish them. Yeah.
So we've got a question. What do your kids say now?
My son says he has a sexy mama and he's 26. And my daughter and I wear the same size clothes, which is great. That's so much fun. She's just very supportive. Our relationship is complete. Well, everything's really changed. Everything has. And so I am no longer parenting her. She's an adult. I really trust her path and her choices and whatever that's going to be. So we have a much more open and free relationship, just as I do with my boyfriend and the new friends that I'm attracting, you know.
We got a comment from Robbie, quite the inspiration. Yes, indeed.
Good. That's my intention. Yeah, I believe in the magic of it all. I mean, it is magic, you know, it just, we don't have to know this. I know Joe's into the science of it, and that's what drew me in, but there's magic in this, and just let it be.
I 101 billion% agree with you there. There is magic beyond the science that is, I mean, the science has a ceiling, a limit to what we can understand. And above
Right.
that, just imagine what is above that.
Right.
What we can't comprehend with our microscopes and test tubes.
You know, and not everybody has to do the 3-month, I'm going to drop from an 18 to a 4 plan. I mean, it takes a while to gain weight, right? You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't happen overnight. So let's say it takes you a year to get the weight off, you know, just incremental baby steps of love, of self-love, just those incremental steps.
Yeah, very inspiring having done all the comments are coming through. Having done the work and not attending an event is very inspiring. It is amazing that you've not been to an event. I didn't realize that actually. So
Yeah, you didn't ask me, and I thought, oh, maybe I should have told her.
no, that's fine. That makes it even more magic, right? You're not surrounded by 1,000 people. You have done this on your own. So
Yes. Yes.
what do you recommend to do about the diet confusion? Because there is so many contradicting statements about diets.
There is and there isn't. Just eat real food. Just shop the aisle. Just, you know, don't just the you know, the outside. Vegetables, beans, rice. Just keep it simple. If you eat meat, make sure it's organic. I mean, I never did a diet per se, and I do have a leaning toward Ayurvedic, but that's just me. The rule is there's no rule. I mean,
Mm.
trust yourself with this, you know? And when you blow it, oh, well, you're going to cut yourself some slack because you're into self-love. And that's what you do when you love yourself. You cut yourself some slack.
Yeah, like when you're talking to your child, how you should
Yes.
be talking to your child. You're
Yes.
not gonna shoot them out of the water because they didn't stick to a diet.
Exactly. Exactly.
A beautiful story, thank you. I'm wondering if you are aware of spirit before. How is that developing for you now?
Okay. Well, once the weight was off, I started to focus on his pineal gland meditations. And so in May, I'm in bed and all of a sudden there's a flashlight in my eyes and I'm sound asleep. So I wake up jolting, open my eyes to see who's flashing a flashlight in my eyes. And no, the light was flashing outside of my head, out my eyes.
Mm.
And I went, oh my God, it's happening. And from that moment forward, when I meditate on the pineal, and I do that once or twice a week, I don't know if I need to, but I do, because I'm so grateful that my pineal is open. I meditate inside the chamber. I actually see myself as little bridge Buddha, cross-legged, sitting inside the pineal chamber meditating. So but with that said, my pineal is open completely. So my life is I think the word is clairescence, which means I have them all, clairvoyant, clairsentience, clairaudio.
Mm.
So I've been writing as much as I can down, but I'm so aware of our multidimensionality now.
Wow.
Like we're here and it seems like we're 3D, but oh God, there's telepathic communications going on amongst some of us, and we've got our unseen, not quite physical friends amongst us, and we're just so multidimensional. It's just a beautiful thing, and the planet is shifting into 5D. This work is totally in sync with what's taking place on the planet. And we need to shift into 5D. I've fully shifted. The one thing that my guides have shown me, and now I'm aware of my guides, is dragons. Dragons love to visit us from the 8th dimension, and they can get themselves down into the 5D. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, that will freak everyone out if we see a dragon flying by, but it's like that kind of shifting is over the next couple of decades is going to take place in the world as we know it. Is going to, there's going to be different critters. There's going to be more critters than we realize amongst us that were always here, but they were in the 5D and we weren't aware of them. Yeah, I don't do readings. I could, I guess, but when I'm with my friends, I can't help if we do any type of healing or meditation together. I shift into this higher awareness, and I often read my friends if they always say yes. Yeah, it's just a part of me now. My boyfriend is also a long-term meditator, and had not had exposure to Dr. Joe, and he's kind of got his own thing going on, and we respect that about each other. But for fun, we'll sit on a park bench just watching, birds and geese and the trees, and he says to me, the next car that drives by is going to be a Ford F-150 truck, and I add, and it's going to be white, and then the next car that goes by is a Ford F-150 white truck.
Wow.
So, we finish each other's sentences and whatnot. And I think we want to really develop the telepathy between us, just for no other reason. It's fun.
Yeah. Do you interact with some beings? Do you see them, and how do you spend your day comparing to before or compared to previously?
Okay. Well, okay. So I live on a very small pension, and So that means there are some limitations to what I can do right now. And and I feel that that will be opening up. So I am aware of my guides, and I identify myself as we more than I do I, but I'm not going to go there with that in the world, because that just confuses everybody. And there's all these other we, theys, he, she, it's like,
Yeah.
no, but I do feel like I'm like I'm a we. I'm not alone. I'm never alone. I'm never alone.
Mm,
Which was a deep need for healing just
mm,
with that. We all need that. We all have levels of a sense of being separate and separation from spirit.
mm,
And so, well, the other day I was at a friend's new home in the forest, and I became aware of two giant beings out in the forest. And I'm going to say they were 20 or 30 foot tall beings. And so I meditated on the beings, and they identified themselves as the brothers. And they are a primordial, original from intergalactic somewhere, sent there, planted there, although they can move, but very, very slowly, to anchor in a certain very specific energy for this valley. It's the Williams Valley. Is the Williams Valley here in the area is where the healers live. Like,
right.
I've always wondered, what is it about this place that all the amazing, there's a big herb company there, and it's and now they're saying, well, we're the sentinels of the east of the valley. And then I went west and went, oh, there's sentinels over there. And then, so there's this seeing, felt, sense, hearing. It's not audio. It's kind of like being in the field. When you're in the field, there's nothing,
Mm,
but there's everything. It's
yeah.
like you're in potential. It's all there.
It's like the pregnant void.
Yes,
Mm,
yes. And so all kinds of fun things like that happen, and I'm just trying to write it all down. I don't know, might use it, might be material for something, who knows.
mm.
Sometimes I feel like my life reads like a sci-fi fantasy, like, intergalactic beings and giants and then angels. I'm aware of the angelic realm and Arcturian beings. And some of this I knew, and some of this I did not know.
So the blue
Before.
beings, you see blue beings.
I do see blue beings. Do you?
I don't, but that's a big thing in Dr. Joe's world. A lot of people at the big events, the huge beings, like 30, 40 foot high, and the blue beings are quite regular visitors to his larger events. So well done you for getting them all by your own.
Interesting. Very interesting. I would say that I am aware of them. Yes. Yes. And then things like time, space, distance, when do I eat, when do I sleep? I just follow and listen to my body. I don't have a routine, except of course, I meditate every day. Of course, I eat every day. Of course, I pray every day over my food, and I'm grateful for it. There's things I do, but if it's 10 o'clock or it's 1 o'clock, or it's 8 p.m. It's all going to happen, but I'm not regimented. That for me, I don't need to be regimented, but I am committed. I'm fully committed to my connection to spirit and self, and I can't go back. There's no going back.
I love this. I really love this. So tell me, you mentioned prayer. What sort of prayer do you do? And is it just over the food, or do you do more formal prayer, a Christian side, or is it no?
No, I'm going to say it's more just a prayer of gratitude.
Right.
And just, I've learned, maybe some of you have learned also, that when he prompts us into our chest, hand on our chest, feel it, and you move into gratitude. It takes me about 3 seconds now to shift right into, and I usually tear up. That's usually part of it. And even my head lifts up, and I look up for a minute, eyes closed, and I just feel the gratitude just envelop my space. But I have learned that by meditating with Dr. Joe every
Mm.
day. So it's a learned behavior now that I know how to get there, 0 to 100 in 3 seconds. But I'm not Christian. Christ consciousness, that's another thing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that on the planet coming in right now.
Love it. So your name is Bridge, like bridging two worlds. Beautiful.
Yes. Yeah, I was given a different name at birth, but it became a nickname when I was a sales manager. And I liked it because my birth name was horrible. And I said, just be Bridge. I'm going to be Bridge.
Yeah. Okay. Can you share some thoughts about children born into this world in these times?
I have one. She's 12, my granddaughter. And there's another friend who has a granddaughter who is 5. Yara, her granddaughter goes into the woods because grandma lives in the woods. So she doesn't go far from home, but she will leave the home to pray and meditate on her own. My granddaughter, she is a visionary, and she sees things I've never heard of. And
Wow.
she trusts what she sees. And I'm just really excited that I'm still here to see these beings coming in,
Mm.
and then I suspect, not knowing the nuts and bolts of reincarnation and why we incarnate again and again, I'll return. I'm 63, so I'll return, to be a part of this new world that we're all a part of ushering in. We're here to usher it in for sure.
Yeah. I've always felt like I'm so lucky and so grateful to be alive now. When in my recent past, I know there was the horse and the cart and where we are going to. It's just mind blowing if you think of the history of man. And coming into this point now, and obviously all of us are on this journey, and we're seeing things over and above what average man is seeing. That's why we're doing these meditations. That's why a lot of us are waking up 5 in the morning to do these meditations. And yeah, there's so much change happening. So
one thing I did early on, right away, I took him at his word. Dr. Joe said, meditate before 4 p.m. when your pineal is most active. So I set my alarm until I was trained to get up at 2:30 or 3 and meditate. And I did that for months. And then I got super tired and I went, okay, I'm not making that sleep up. I'm high as a kite after I meditate. I can't go back to bed. So I stopped doing that. But for a while, I also felt like I was showing spirit, these are my intentions, and I'm serious here, and I need all the help I can get. I never pretended that it was just me, myself, and I expected and anticipated unseen loving support to help move me forward.
We've got a question. Do you also do walking meditations?
Oh, I love them. They're my favorite because I live in a beautiful part of the world. And so, yes, they are my favorite thing to do. And walk through the world, right? That was last week. That was just incredible. And I share that. Go to my Facebook, you guys. Come be friends. I find the walking meditations more empowering and more like, it is when you're involving your body like that in an altered state, it just feels, I don't know what, more solidifying, more connected. Not, I don't know. I can't get enough of those. Yeah. The first time I did one, I'll never forget. That was June. I was walking through the woods and I put on the headset, and the music alone, Dr. Joe's music is just phenomenal. And I'm starting to get into my heart space. And then this booming voice, male voice, says, "Listen up." I'm like, oh, okay. And Dr. Joe's in the background talking.
Okay.
I'm already altered. And it says, let's see, he said, "You cannot be with a regular man, a normal man. You must be with a supernatural man." But he's booming and telling me, because I was doing this speed dating and it was ridiculous. So it's like, okay, I heard you, now let me do my walking meditation.
Wow,
And yeah, my guy's a supernatural guy.
lovely.
Yeah.
We've got 6 more minutes, guys. So if anybody has any more questions, please feel free. Hands up.
Can I just ask, how does it feel being more authentic to yourself? Does that change your development?
Oh, wow. That's a good question, Nicola. And the answer is I'm brand new. My body is brand new and my mind is brand new. So sometimes when my sweetheart says, well, what did you used to do? Blah, blah, blah. A part of me is like, well, it doesn't matter because she's no longer here. I am no longer her. And that's really how I feel about it. I didn't, how does the saying go? Like, change implies like a residue of the past, but transformation is creating something new. And I have experienced transformation. So there is no past.
Thank you.
How long did it take to believe the loving words, comments, etc. you began to tell yourself?
The which comments?
The loving words and comments that you used, what you used to say to yourself. How long did it take you to believe them?
To buy into it?
Mhm.
It helped to add the music mantras. It helped a lot because I love music, and to sing that I am love and I am loved really helped me a lot because I could feel the music in me, and it stirs my heart to listen to beautiful music. If I had just done it in my head, it might have taken a little longer, but in NLP and give or take 30 days, give or take, if you a habit, you just keep, but I wasn't coming from egoic mind. I was coming from a high place with that. So, I mean, everything was expedited. Everything was fast.
I think you're right. If you love music, and I do, I could listen to music and get high on music, possibly sometimes more than with words in the background. They feel somewhat distracting sometimes. So music really does do it for me. Thank you for sharing and shining. This is beautiful inspiration, and what we're all doing there might be a great ride then. Thank you. Make sure I haven't missed any questions. Can you share your Facebook?
Yes, I'm already maxed in the friend department, but please just click follow. I post about 18, 20 posts a day,
Wow.
including reels. I'm just practicing for I don't know what, but this is like, I was telling my friends, oh, I'm going to talk to Mona and she's in Britain and it's a podcast. They're like, your first interview.
Yes.
My first interviews with Mona.
Yes. Love it.
Yeah.
Are
Thank you.
music mantras only music, no words? No, I think they've got words in, right?
Oh, no, they have
Yeah.
affirmations in them. And Music Mantras by Lee Harris. Check those out on YouTube. They're free. And also just think about devotional music, whether it's Christian or kind of new age, or there's lots of devotional. Sam Garrett does devotional, kind of more Hindu, more satsang. But there's all kinds of beautiful, self-loving, affirmative music out there. Tends to be repetitive. Maybe there's 4 lines and you're repeating the same lines over and over, which is perfect for the mind.
Inducing, right?
Yeah.
I haven't come across Sam Garrett. I must look him up because I like that kind of music as well. So, okay, if there are no more questions, Bridge, I've really, really enjoyed this conversation with you. I feel like I want to talk to you more. and I
Yes.
probably will be
Yes.
contacting you more.
Yes.
This was
Thank you.
amazing. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bridge, for
all.
joining us from the US.
Okay. All right. Everyone take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.